Hello, lovers of passionate Latin rock melodies and inspiring stories. Today, we will embark on a journey to explore the life of a world music legend, a man who shook the international stages with his immortal guitar melodies and free spirit, cáɾlos Santana. Get ready to immerse yourself in a story full of emotions, from the glorious days at the peak of fame to the painful hidden corners that few people know. Don't forget to hit the bell and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next attractive videos. Let's get started. Imagine a brilliant stage where the spotlight shines on a man with long, messy hair, his hands gliding over the strings of an electric guitar, creating enchanting Latin rock melodies, making tens of thousands of audiences stand up, immersing themselves in the music in ecstasy. That was káɾlos Santana in the late 1960s and throughout the 1970s, when he and his band Santana dominated the world music scene, with classic albums like ʻkaɾlos, Santana Third, and timeless hits like Black Magic Woman, Oye Como Va, and Samba Pa Ti. Santana was not just a musician, but a cultural icon, a pioneer who brought Latin influences to rock music, creating a global musical revolution. His performance style, combining the power of rock with the depth of jazz, combined with a warm smile and passionate eyes, made him an irreplaceable star, celebrated at the legendary Woodstock Festival in 1969 and on the charts around the world. Santana's success was like a wildfire, spreading across the world, lighting up every stage he stepped on, from small clubs in San Francisco to giant stadiums in Europe, Japan, and Latin America. But like fire, fame can burn away what's closest to him, leaving scars that are not easily seen. It's like a mesmerizing symphony that can lift you to the top, but also hides deep cracks in your soul. Behind the glitter of Grammys, sold-out concerts, and million-dollar contracts, there are untold stories, trials, and pains that only those closest to him know. What happened to káɾlos Santana, once considered the soul of Latin rock? Was his bright light enough to hide the darkness in his life? Let's explore to find out the truth behind the legend. To understand káɾlos Santana's resilience and passion, we must go back to his early years in Acclaim de Navarro, a small town in the mountains of Jalisco, Mexico, where he was born on July 20th, 1947. Santana grew up in a large family of 7 children, living in poverty. His father, Jose Santana, was a musician who played violin in mariachi bands, providing soulful traditional Mexican melodies, but the unstable income from his performances was not enough to support the family. His mother, Josefina Barragán, a strong but strict woman, worked tirelessly, sewing and selling goods on the street to ensure that her children had enough to eat and wear. Life in Acclaim in the 1950s was difficult, as the Mexican economy was still recovering from political and social upheaval, and the Santana family often faced days of poverty. When Santana was 5 years old, his family faced a major change. They left Acclaim for Tijuana, a vibrant but chaotic border city, in search of better opportunities. The change left a deep psychological scar on young káɾlos. He recalls feeling lost as he left behind familiar country streets, close friends, and peaceful afternoons by the river where he would sit and listen to his father play the violin. In Tijuana, Santana's family lived in a small, cramped house with thin walls and a rusty tin roof. The siblings slept together on old mattresses, and meals consisted of beans, tortillas, and sometimes a little meat if they were lucky. His mother, exhausted from long workdays, tried to create moments of joy by telling Mexican folk tales or singing the folk songs she had learned from her mother. To help support his family, Santana began working at a young age. At age 7, he shined shoes on the dusty streets of Tijuana, carrying a small wooden box and a worn toothbrush. He also played the violin in small bars, where drunken patrons would pay a few pesos to hear him belt out mariachi routines. The nights not only provided income, but also taught him how to deal with a difficult audience, from people who threw coins in his hat to those who mocked the small boy with his oversized violin. Despite his poverty, Santana found solace in music. His father taught him to play the violin at age 5, but when he heard blues and rock tunes on the radio, Santana was drawn to the guitar. At age 8, he borrowed his older brother's old guitar and began teaching himself, spending hours imitating the riffs of B.B. King, T-Bone Walker, and Muddy Waters. The street performances in Tijuana, which brought in just a few pesos, nurtured Santana's big dream to become a famous musician, to bring Mexican music to the world. It was those difficult years that forged his iron will and indomitable spirit, laying the foundation for his later resounding successes. cáɾlos Santana's musical journey began with a chance but fateful opportunity in Tijuana, where he grew up amidst noisy streets and smoky bars. By the age of 14, Santana had become a familiar face in the nightclubs of the Zona Norte, a bustling but risky neighborhood of Tijuana. He played guitar and violin in small bars where the audience consisted of workers, American tourists, and the occasional neighborhood gangster. These gigs were not only a way for him to earn money to support his family, but also an opportunity to learn from street musicians who played everything from traditional mariachi to blues and cutting-edge rock and roll. Every night, Santana stood on makeshift stages, dimly lit and filled with beer, trying to please a demanding audience with soulful tunes. One night, while playing guitar at a small bar called El Convoy, Santana was noticed by Javier Batis, a Mexican-American musician and frontman for Los TJs, one of Tijuana's first rock bands. Batis was fascinated by the way Santana combined traditional mariachi rhythms with the power and freedom of rock and blues. He recognized the 14-year-old's natural talent, from his dexterous fingers to his burning passion in his eyes. Batis invited Santana to join Los TJs, and this was the first turning point in his career. With Los TJs, Santana learned how to perform professionally, from collaborating with other musicians to winning over audiences with energetic performances. These years, though difficult, helped him hone his skills and build the confidence needed to step onto bigger stages. However, Santana's path to the beginning was not easy. In Tijuana, young musicians like him had to compete fiercely to gain a foothold in a fledgling music market. He often had to play in poor conditions, from cramped, poorly lit stages to indifferent audiences who sometimes threw bottles or booed when they were not satisfied. Santana also faced opposition from his family, especially his mother, Josefina, who considered music a frivolous hobby and wanted him to pursue a more stable career, such as a mechanic or a banker. "Music won't feed you, cáɾlos," his mother would tell him sternly, but Santana wouldn't give up. He practiced for hours every day, experimenting with new ways of playing and constantly looking for ways to combine Mexican influences with the rock and blues he heard on the radio. His determination and burning passion helped him overcome early difficulties, from playing for free at night to being turned away by bar owners. Another important opportunity came in 1966, when the Santana family decided to move to San Francisco, USA, in search of a better life. At the age of 19, Santana entered a whole new world where the counterculture and rock music scene were exploding in the San Francisco Bay Area. The city, with clubs like the Fillmore West and the Avalon Ballroom, was a center for psychedelic and rock music. Santana quickly settled in, forming the Santana Blues Band with friends like Greg Rowley, David Brown, and Michael Shreve. The band began performing at local clubs, attracting attention for their unique style of combining rock, blues, salsa, and jazz. Bill Graham, a famous concert promoter and manager of the Fillmore West, became an important mentor to Santana. Graham recognized the band's potential and helped them sign a contract with Columbia Records, arranging for them to perform at the 1969 Woodstock Festival. The Woodstock performance of Soul Sacrifice, with its hypnotic guitar riffs and frenetic drum beats, put Santana on the world music map, transforming him from a Tijuana street musician into an international star. It was his perseverance, natural talent, and willingness to experiment that helped Santana overcome his initial barriers to achieve great success. In the late 1960s and throughout the 1970s, káɾlos Santana and the Santana Band became a global phenomenon, defining a new genre, Latin rock. His most notable achievement was the album ʻkaɾlos, 1970, a masterpiece that seamlessly blended rock, blues, salsa, jazz, and traditional Mexican sounds, featuring songs like Black Magic Woman, Oi Como Va, and Samba Pa Ti. The album not only reached #1 on the Billboard charts, but also sold millions of copies worldwide, from the US to Europe, Japan, and Latin America. ʻkaɾlos was not only a commercial success, but also a cultural statement, bringing Latin music into the rock mainstream and inspiring millions of music lovers around the world. His performance at Woodstock in 1969, especially his performance of Soul Sacrifice, cemented Santana's status as a symbol of cultural exchange and the free spirit of the 1960s. What set Santana apart was his unique guitar playing style, with narrative melodies that were both powerful and soulful, as if the guitar were an extension of his soul. His guitar voice, full of emotion and technique, is like a conversation between the heart and the world, and can move audiences to tears or dance with excitement. He not only plays music, but also conveys messages of love, peace, and cultural connection, inspired by both his Mexican heritage and Eastern spiritual philosophy. Santana's work ethic is also a highlight. He refuses advertising contracts that do not align with his values, such as offers to make purely commercial music for money. "I don't play music to make money. I play to touch the heart," he once shared in an interview, and that sincerity has won him the respect of both audiences and colleagues. Santana's influence is not limited to music. He has become a symbol of cultural exchange, connecting the Latino community with a global audience. Santana's shows, from Woodstock to stadiums in London, Tokyo, and Mexico City, were cultural events, with audiences from all walks of life joining in to his fervent tunes. He also inspired a generation of musicians, from Latin rock bands like Maná and Los Lobos to jazz artists like Herbie Hancock and Wayne Shorter, who collaborated with him on albums like Caravanserai and Moonflower. Santana not only defined Latin rock, but also paved the way for musical diversity, proving that tunes from a small town in Mexico could conquer the world. His Grammys, including 9 for 1999's Supernatural, are just a small part of his vast legacy, a legacy that goes beyond music to unity and hope. Fame, however glorious, is never a symphony of high notes, and for Carlos Santana, his peak years with Santana were also a time of deep conflict, both within the band and with the music industry. In the 1970s, as Santana achieved great success with albums like ʻkaɾlos and Santana III, pressure from Columbia Records mounted. The label wanted the band to continue making hits using the successful formula of easy-listening, commercially appealing Latin rock. However, Santana, an artist with an adventurous soul, wanted to push his musical boundaries further, incorporating jazz fusion, spiritual music, and the influences of Eastern philosophy that he had begun to study after meeting Guru Sri Chinmoy. These creative differences led to bitter disputes within the band, especially with members Greg Rowley and Neil Schon, who wanted to maintain a traditional rock style in order to maintain their popularity. A major turning point came in 1972, when Santana decided to change the band's lineup, leading to the departure of several key members, including Rowley and Schon, who would later form Journey. The decision shocked fans and the media, as the band was at the height of its popularity, with chart-topping albums and sold-out shows around the world. Some sources speculated that Santana was pressured by Columbia Records to remove members who disagreed with his new direction, while others suggested that Santana's authoritarianism in leading the band caused the rift. A former band member once shared that Santana was sometimes too focused on his own vision, leaving the other members feeling sidelined. Whatever the real reason, Santana remained silent, saying only that he wanted to pursue a bigger dream, music that touched the soul. This silence only fueled speculation, and many in the music industry began to view him as a difficult artist to work with, someone who put art before profit. This sense of injustice led to a difficult period for Santana, where he faced doubts about his worth. He felt caught between maintaining his artistic vision and the pressure of meeting the expectations of the public and his record label. The 1972 album Caravanserai, while critically acclaimed for its groundbreaking take on jazz fusion, did not achieve the commercial success of his previous albums, leading Santana to be criticized for going too far from the style that had made him famous. At the same time, he began to suffer from health problems, with chronic back pain brought on by his demanding touring schedule and late nights in the studio. There were days when I would be on stage and all I wanted was to escape somewhere where I could be myself and not be judged, he once confided to a close friend. This period, though painful, became a turning point, forcing Santana to rediscover the meaning of his music and reshape his path. He began to focus on his spirituality, finding balance in his life and music, leading to revolutionary albums like Love, Devotion, Surrender with John McLaughlin. As the spotlight faded in the 1970s, cáɾlos Santana did not try to cling to fame or reenact the glory days of Abraxas and Woodstock. Instead, he chose to live a quieter life, focusing on family, spirituality, and the values he truly held dear. After the band's turmoil and the pressures of the music industry, Santana moved to a small farm in Marin County, California, where he lived in a simple wooden house surrounded by green fields and peaceful trails. There, he found joy in simple things: playing guitar by the river, tending a garden of lavender and fruit trees, meditating every morning to find inner peace, and writing new songs out of commercial pressure, but simply for the joy of it. He often sat on the porch playing acoustic tunes for his children, Salvador, Stella, and Angelica, and telling them about his days performing on the streets of Tijuana and the lessons he learned from music. Santana also devotes much of his time to philanthropy through the Milagro Foundation, which he and his ex-wife Deborah Santana founded in 1998. The organization focuses on helping children in need, from providing scholarships to low-income students to funding arts and education programs in Latino communities in the United States and Mexico. Santana regularly appears at benefit concerts where he performs acoustic versions of old hits like Samba Pa Tai and Europa, bringing a more intimate, authentic feel to the audience. I don't need a big stage or millions of fans anymore. If I can help one child find his dream, that's enough, he once said in an interview at an Oakland school where he awarded scholarships to musically gifted students. His unspoken contributions extend beyond his sponsorships to the way he inspires younger generations, encouraging them to pursue their passions and live true to their hearts. In addition, Santana began to explore new aspects of himself through spirituality and culture. He delved deeper into Eastern philosophy, yoga, and meditation, and reconnected with his Mexican heritage by learning traditional folk songs and attending cultural festivals in Jalisco. He also began writing an autobiography, The Universal Tone, in which he recounts his musical and spiritual journey, from his poverty-stricken days in Outlawn to his triumphant moments at Woodstock. The book is not only a story of success, but also a reminder of the importance of perseverance, gratitude, and connection to one's roots. Despite repeated calls to return to the big stage, Santana only returned selectively, with 1999's Supernatural being a notable highlight. The album, which featured hits like Smooth and Maria Maria, and featured collaborations with artists like Rob Thomas and Wyclef Jean, earned 9 Grammys and brought Santana back into the spotlight. However, he did not let this success define him. "I played for the world, but now I want to play for my heart and the people I love," he said, signaling a profound change in his outlook on life. The decision to live a simpler life left some fans with regret, as they had hoped to see Santana continue to conquer the big stages. However, many admired his courage and sincerity in choosing to live true to himself. Santana does not try to become a version of himself, but instead chooses to live a balanced life where music, family, and spirituality blend together. He spends time teaching his son Salvador to play piano and guitar, encouraging his daughter Stella to pursue an acting career, and supporting Angelica in her art projects. He also conducts music workshops in schools and community centers, where he shares his experiences of writing and performing, inspiring young musicians. Santana's life behind the spotlight is a testament to how an artist can find meaning in simple things without having to chase fame or recognition. Entering his 78th year, cáɾlos Santana began to face new challenges, especially with his health. He was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, a disease that is not life-threatening but causes persistent pain in the joints of his hands, wrists, and back, making it difficult to play the guitar, his greatest passion. On the most painful days, Santana relied on physical therapy, painkillers, and meditation sessions to control the pain. The disease not only affected his body, but also made him worry about the future, especially his ability to continue writing and performing. "I'm not afraid of getting old, but I'm afraid that one day I won't be able to hold a guitar anymore. The guitar is how I talk to the world," he once confided to a close friend, his voice full of worry. Still, Santana tried to maintain the habit of playing music every day, even if it was just simple tunes on an acoustic guitar, as a way to keep his spirits up. Cindy Blackman, his wife since 2010 and a talented drummer, has been his biggest support during these difficult years. Cindy, who has accompanied Santana on stage on many tours, knows how important music is to him. In an emotional moment at their Marin County home, Cindy held Santana's hand and said, her voice choked up, "ấkaɾlos, you are the light of my life. Seeing you in pain, I just wish I could take some of that pain away from you. You always said that music was your breath, but I want you to know that you are my breath." The words brought tears to Santana's eyes as it reminded him that even though the spotlight had faded, Cindy's love was still the fire that warmed his life. Cindy often played drums with him on quiet mornings, creating impromptu melodies as a way to encourage him through the difficult days. Public reactions to Santana's health have been mixed. Loyal fans, especially those who grew up on albums like Abraxas and Supernatural, sent him heartfelt messages of support via social media and handwritten letters. They shared stories of how his songs changed their lives, from helping them get over painful breakups to inspiring them to pursue their passions in music. "ấkaɾlos, you were more than just a musician. You taught us how to love and dream," wrote one fan. "Your tunes will live on in our hearts forever." Santana's benefit concerts, though fewer in number in recent years, still attracted thousands of fans who came not just to hear his music, but to pay their respects to a legend. But for a younger generation who grew up on pop, hip-hop, and EDM, Santana's name has become increasingly unknown. The oblivion, though painful, has not deterred him. He faced old age with a calm demeanor, focusing on living each day to the fullest, from playing music for his family to writing new tunes that reflected his spiritual journey. Santana's legacy is one of the richest and most enduring in music history. He was a pioneer in bringing Latin music into the rock mainstream, creating a cultural bridge between Mexico and the world. Songs like Black Magic Woman, Oye Como Va, and Smooth were not just hits, but timeless pieces, covered by countless artists and used in films, commercials, and cultural events. He also left a legacy through his children, Salvador, Stella, and Angelica, who grew up with the love of music and resilience he instilled in them. Salvador, a talented musician, followed in his father's footsteps with his own band, bringing the Latin rock sound to a new generation. Stella and Angelica, while pursuing other paths such as acting and art, carry with them the creative spirit and pride of their father's Mexican heritage. Santana also left his mark through his autobiography, The Universal Tone, in which he recounts his musical and spiritual journey with honesty and depth as a gift to future generations. In addition, the Milagro Foundation continues to work, supporting thousands of children around the world, ensuring that Santana's charitable legacy lives on. Despite his illness, Santana continues to create, in the hope that his music will continue to inspire future generations, reminding them that love and unity can overcome any barrier, overcome any barrier, overcome any barrier.